As you all have heard by now, the Miss Universe pageant director, Nawat, is catching a lot of heat lately for his disrespect towards Miss Mexico in the Miss Universe pageant. Let me play a snippet of this, and then I'm going to explain to you line by line everything that was said in the original recording because I only have a snippet of it for you here. But I have taken notes and I've written down verbatim what Nawat and Miss Mexico were saying. So let's watch this first clip, and then I'm going to have another clip for you to watch as well. Let's listen.
These were the scenes at the Miss Universe sashing ceremony in Thailand, and it was all captured during a Facebook Live. It's been called the most empowering act in Miss Universe history. It all began when the organization's Vice President for Asia publicly scolded Miss Mexico for not attending a sponsor shoot earlier that day.
Mexico, where are you? Okay? She don't do anything, she don't like it. You are dumbhead. Security.
After ordering security to escort Fátima Bosch out, contestants walked out in solidarity with their competitor. Outside the room, Bosch encouraged other women to stand up for themselves.
But the way that he treated me, without any reason, just because he has problems, that is not okay. And I hope that everyone at home, every woman, doesn't matter if you have a big dream, if you have a crown, if that's take away your dignity, you need to go.
Even the reigning champion, Miss Universe 2024, was in agreement. The Miss Universe organisation, owned by a Thailand-based company, has faced growing criticism of the transparency in how contestants are treated. Miss Universe released a statement. Together we are dedicated to the highest standards of respect, safety and integrity for all participants, staff and stakeholders.
Stop.
Okay, so get this. The ladies in the Miss Universe pageant were attending a sachet ceremony to allow the ladies to ask any questions that they may have, which is similar to like a press conference. Nawat, the director of the Miss Universe pageant, asked Miss Mexico, "Where are you?" And Miss Mexico, Fátima Bosch, then stood up and said, "I'm here." Nawat then asked Miss Mexico if it's true that she is not posting about Thailand's articles and activities. Contestants were, as a side note, contestants were asked to help promote Thailand's sponsors, you know, for towards the pageant. So now Miss Mexico then said, "It's not about me. It's about all the people that I represent." Nawat immediately responds, "I didn't give you opportunity to talk. Please keep polite for me." Miss Mexico continued to talk, and Nawat scolded her like a child as if she was beneath him. Nawat said, I still talking, listen. I still keep talking to everybody. Why you stand up to talk to me?" Miss Universe replies respectfully, "Because I have a voice. Do you have a problem?" And then Nawat interrupts Miss Mexico and says, "No, you have a voice, but you have to respect." So apparently Nawat sees Miss Mexico standing up to speak to him as being disrespectful. But really, she was standing up out of respect. So I think there is a huge clash there as far as in cultural understanding there on the part of Nawat. Miss Mexico says, "You are not respecting me as a woman." And Nawat says, "What? No, why you stand up?" Before Miss Mexico can fully answer, Nawat calls for security, as if Miss Mexico is the one that's the problem. You can hear and feel the resentment from the other contestants in the room. The other contestants talk among themselves while Nawat attempts to justify his actions of blatantly disrespecting Miss Mexico and calls for security to remove her from the room by saying that she stand and she talks by herself. That's what Nawat said. Then Miss Mexico says, "As a woman, we have respect. They need to have respect for us. I'm here representing a country, and it's not my fault that you have problems with my organization. Nawat then rudely talks over Miss Mexico and says, no, no, listen, listen. You must listen to me. And then when I argue you, then Miss Mexico says, this is the wrong time. After a pause, Miss Mexico, and also Nawat called, as you heard in the video, he called Miss Mexico a liar as well. So after a pause, Miss Mexico and several of the Miss Universe contestants get up out of their seats and walk out in solidarity. Nawat is stunned. He yells, stop, stop, and proceeds to stand in front of the women. The women keep walking out of the room. Nawat then yells, stop, sit down. If anyone wants to continue the contest, sit down. If you step out, the last of the girls continues. Most of the ladies kept walking out, and some ladies remained seated. So Nawat was basically threatening the women who were walking out, basically saying that those who walk out will no longer be a Miss Universe contestant. And so that may be part of the reason why some of the women remained seated. But the ones who walked out, they were walking out in support of, in solidarity with Miss Universe. And I commend those ladies for doing so. Fátima Bosch then said, once she met with some news correspondents when she walked out, she said that, I'm just going to read partially what she said, that as a country, you have all my respect, referring to Thailand. But what just your director did is not respectful. He called me dumb because he have problems with the organization. I just try to be kind. I'm trying to give my best. She also says that Nawat told her to shut up. Highly disrespectful of Nawat to say those horrible things. And also, I did a little bit of research on Fátima Bosch. She is not dumb. In fact, she has a bachelor's degree in fashion and apparel. And Fátima, she has that degree in fashion and apparel and apparel design. She has a bachelor's degree in fashion and apparel design that she earned from 2001 to 2024 by attending Universidad Iberoamericano. I hope I pronounced that correctly. My Spanish is a little bit rusty. Fátima, if you are watching this, you are a very classy lady who showed a lot of grace in maintaining, you've showed a lot of grace in maintaining your feminine energy while darts were being unfairly thrown at you by the very rude and disrespectful and unprofessional Mr. Nawat, who thought he could get away with disrespecting you without fearing any consequence for his actions, because he thought he had risen up so high in society and his job position that he didn't fear neither losing his job, nor did he fear having to be checked by anyone for his unprofessional actions in berating you, Miss Mexico. Nawat should have spoken to Miss Mexico and her team in private. This never should have gone public. It should have never gone nationally nor internationally, because this is highly embarrassing for Miss Mexico, I'm certain. Nawat said later in a press conference, also, I'm going to play that video in just a moment before I comment on that. Nawat is making people question him and the Miss Universe pageant altogether due to the level of unprofessionalism of Nawat. And Nawat needs to be replaced, because if someone is so intelligent, then they should know basic manners that you're taught by your parents or whoever raised you before you even started going to school. Okay, so how is that for intelligence? And also keep in mind that Miss Grand, Rachel Gupta, resigned due to the terrible treatment that she received in the pageant, in the Miss Grand pageant, from Nawat. So that speaks volumes about him, that he does not have professionalism and decorum in knowing just basically how to speak to someone. Just because someone has management skills, CEO skills, has done pageants before, has been on TV, and has all of this professional, quote unquote, professional experience, does not mean that they have basic skills in knowing how to communicate with others. So now let me play this response from Nawat in this next video. Let's listen.
First, I have to apologize for the delegate if anyone felt and not comfortable with happened. I'm so sorry. So for international press, I didn't say.
Let me stop this for a moment. He said also if anyone was affected. He never, he obviously several individuals were affected or else they wouldn't have walked out in the first place. So if should not be used when apologizing to someone, when you're apologizing with sincerity. And also he should have apologized first to Miss Mexico. He should have apologized to her directly and said her name, and then apologize to everyone else involved, but without using the word if. Then it would have come across as more sincere. Okay, now listen carefully to this next reply, because he's basically going to say that he said something else besides the word dumb. Okay, but keep in mind he also said that she's a liar and other things, but he's just going to respond to whether he called Miss Universe dumb or not. So let's listen to the rest of this video. If I can get this to play. Now it wants to act up. Let me see if I can refresh the screen.
First, I have to apologize for the delegate if anyone felt and not comfortable with happened. I'm so sorry. So for international press, I didn't say dumbhead even 1 second. So could you please check it again in our Facebook, Miss Universe Thailand? I said damn it. If she believe and listen, national director is damn it to you or to the queen, I forgot it. But I said damn it. Not dumbhead. Not dumbhead.
Okay. So Nawat says he said damage, not dumbhead. Okay. Or dumb, basically. So I went back and listened to it after that, and it sounds like he probably did say damage, but he still did call, but he just has a strong accent. So from normally hearing how the words are pronounced in English, it sounded like he was saying dumb, or as he mentioned before, possibly dumb head, but he says it was damage. So if you go back and listen to it with the understanding that that word is damage in the first recording, first video that I played, then it does sound like he's saying damage. So, but still that doesn't negate the fact that he called her a liar and that he just embarrassed her in front of everyone, nationally and internationally. So apology is still in order. Now, I feel that Nawat needs to be replaced. In closing, I noticed that no matter what was said, some of the women never left out of their seats during the times the several of the contestants did support Miss Mexico walking out. And I want to commend those ladies who did support. But Nawat, he reminds me of how in corporate America, no matter how many times coworkers complain about the company bully, that bully is only promoted and never fired for their disrespect of others, but is rather rewarded. And so that's what's going on here. Because notice that I said in the Miss Grand pageant, Rachel Gupta resigned in her position due to the disrespect that she received largely from Nawat. And so he was bullying her. And instead of him being checked and replaced by someone who has basic communication skills, but yet still knows how to, manage all the ins and outs of a beauty pageant, and knows how to have balance without losing his temper. And if he doesn't have skills, will know how to hire someone else but for the position. So instead of getting someone like that, then they continue to let the bully then be rewarded by now being the director of the Miss Universe pageant. So you see how that relates to bullies in corporate America. How no matter how many times you go into HR and complain about these people, these bullies, they never get rid of that person, because that person, they are producing for the company. They're making money for the company, just like Nawat is. So this relates to in our personal lives as well. That's why this story is so important and resonates home for a lot of us. Even if you've never been in a pageant, even if you don't know Miss Mexico, if you don't ever come across Nawat or any of these people, still a lot of us can identify with this type of situation, or with being mistreated in this way, or we know someone who was mistreated in this way that Miss Mexico was, due to our experiences in corporate America, or in our own lives, or just dealing with bullies, or dealing with people who have all this experience but then don't have the basic skills needed on how to communicate with others that they should have learned when they were a little child. Ladies, if you don't stand together against mistreatment, referring to those who stayed in their seats and did not walk out along with Miss Mexico, then any one of you can also be next in being disrespected by Nawat or anyone else, whether it's part of the Miss Universe pageant or at any other time in life. So once you see the respect, you have to respond to it. You have to nip it in the bud and let those who are disrespecting you know that you're not taking it, and if you stay seated and silent and don't say anything about it, then you're supporting it happening. Now, because you see the results of those standing together who stood together with Miss Universe. The result was that Nawat was forced to address the situation. Now, he's probably, he may be continuing on with this, because, like I said, the bully that produces results and makes money, a lot of times they don't remove those people. But he still had to come forth, and apologize for his actions. Now, the Miss Universe pageant is scheduled to be live on November 21st. And so maybe the Miss Mexico will still be a part of it. We just have to wait and see how it goes, and if there's any change in how the ladies are being treated. I thank you all for watching and listening. Please subscribe to my channel. I would like for my channel to get monetized, and thumbs up the video. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one. Lord willing. Bye.